When you think of US presidents, you probably imagine grand speeches, historical moments, and maybe even some intense debates. But here's something we don't often think about. Presidents get hungry too. Yes, even the most powerful leaders need their favorite meals to get them through the day, just like the rest of us. In this video, we'll be discussing the favorite foods of US presidents throughout history. George Washington, America's first president, had his go-to breakfast. And no, it wasn't some fancy feast fit for royalty. It was hoe cakes. These simple pancakes made from cornmeal were Washington's go-to breakfast. While his White House meals often included pork, goose, and mince pies, it was those cornmeal pancakes that started his day. The dish became so popular that people even started calling it George Washington's breakfast. Talk about setting trends, right? John Adams, the second president, kept it local with his favorite meal. Adams loved what was known as a New England boiled dinner. If you were expecting something fancy like steak and eggs, guess again. This stew was all about beef, pork, or chicken, cooked with plenty of vegetables. Thomas Jefferson didn't just shape the nation. He also had a hand in America's early love for ice cream. French vanilla ice cream was his dessert of choice. To date, we don't know if Jefferson was responsible for its creation or his skilled butler, but we know he had a sweet tooth. Now, if there's one thing that Virginia is famous for, it's ham, and it was James Madison's favorite. He had a particular love for smoked Virginia ham, a dish that was already popular in his home state, but when a president has a favorite food, it adds some serious prestige to the dish. Madison's love for this salty, delicious treat made perfect sense. After all, nothing says comfort food quite like a good slice of ham. James Monroe may have shared a name with Madison, but his food tastes were a bit different. Instead of ham, Monroe had a soft spot for spoon bread, a dish made from cornmeal mush that's baked to perfection. The story goes that spoon bread was an accidental creation when someone decided to bake the cornmeal instead of boiling it. Monroe loved it so much that he kept it on the menu during his time in office. Accidents really do create the best dishes sometimes, don't they? John Quincy Adams was one of the healthiest eaters among the earlier presidents, and his favorite food might surprise you: fresh fruit. Adams was a passionate gardener and loved to eat the fruits of his labor, literally. He particularly enjoyed plums, apples, and peaches from his garden. Andrew Jackson brought a bit of Southern flair to the White House dining room with his favorite dish, tenderloin with Jezebel sauce. If you've never heard of Jezebel sauce, you're not alone. This sweet and spicy concoction made from apples, pineapples, and peppers was as unique as Jackson himself. Pairing it with tenderloin was a bold move. But Jackson wasn't one to follow the crowd. We can only guess he liked his meals with a bit of a kick. Now here's where things get a little wild. Literally, Martin Van Buren, the 8th president, developed a taste for boar's head after a trip to England. This extravagant dish was something you'd expect to see at a medieval feast, not necessarily on the White House menu. Van Buren liked it so much that he made sure it became a staple at his Christmas dinners. Boar's head as a holiday centerpiece? Sounds like something straight out of a history book or a cartoon. William Henry Harrison's time in office was tragically short, but we do know about his unusual favorite dish, squirrel stew. Yeah, you heard me right, squirrel stew. While it may not fly today, back in the 1840s it was considered quite the delicacy. Harrison was so fond of it that he even served it at rallies and voter gatherings, handing out bowls of stew as part of his campaign. Talk about weird campaign strategies. John Tyler's favorite comfort food was chess pie, a sweet dessert that's popular in the South. It's often mistaken for a custard or pudding, but this pie is all about simplicity. Just sugar, butter, eggs, and a little bit of cornmeal for texture. Tyler found it the perfect way to manage the stress of being president. And honestly, who wouldn't feel better after a slice of pie? Zachary Taylor loved something a bit more indulgent: challah, a type of fried sweet rice dumpling. The New Orleans delicacy was crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, and oh so sweet. Taylor was known to eat them in large quantities, despite their high cholesterol content. But hey, when you're president, why not treat yourself? We don't know everything about Abraham Lincoln's tastes, but one thing most people swear by is his love for corn cakes. Lincoln's love for this humble dish reflects his humble personality. Corn cakes were a typical, everyday food in the mid-1800s, and Lincoln's pantry was often stocked full of the ingredients to make them. Andrew Johnson, the 17th president, had a deep love for Southern cuisine, and his favorite dish was Hoppin' John. This classic dish is a combination of black-eyed peas, rice, and bacon. Johnson's chef perfected the dish during his time in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it became a regular feature in the White House. With a name like Hoppin' John, you can bet it brought a bit of joy to the presidential dining table. General Ulysses S. Grant may have been known for his military skills, but when it came to food, he had simple tastes. His favorite? Rice pudding. That's right, this simple dessert was something that Grant reportedly asked for almost daily. Rutherford B. Hayes took a very simple approach to food. His favorite? Corn. Whether it was corn on the cob, cornbread, corn soup, or corn fritters, Hayes just couldn't get enough. Some say he was obsessed with it. Guess you could say the man really had amazing taste. Chester A. Arthur's taste for turtle steak might sound strange today, but back in the 19th century, it was all the rage. Sea turtles were widely consumed until they became endangered. Eating turtles might not fly today, but for Arthur, it was the perfect food. Grover Cleveland, who served 2 non-consecutive terms, kept things simple with his favorite meal: corned beef and cabbage. Cleveland was known for his simple nature, and his taste in food reflected that. In fact, once he traded a gourmet meal for a plate of corned beef and cabbage, claiming it was the best meal he had in months. It's safe to say that when Cleveland liked something, he stuck with it. Benjamin Harrison had a particular love for fig pudding, a traditional Christmas dessert. The White House chef at the time revealed that Harrison couldn't imagine the holiday season without this sweet treat. It seems Harrison knew how to bring the festive spirit to the White House dining table, one figgy pudding at a time. William McKinley had a soft spot for red flannel hash. This meal, made from a mix of potatoes, beets, and corned beef, was a colorful, comforting plate that gave McKinley a taste of home. It's not exactly what you'd expect on a presidential menu, but it's clear that McKinley was a man who loved simple flavors. Teddy Roosevelt was a big man, so it makes sense that his favorite meal was a classic American dish: fried chicken. Roosevelt loved fried chicken so much that he even linked it to his childhood. His mother would often serve it with white gravy, and that comforting home-cooked meal stuck with him through his years of rough riding and leading the nation. Fried chicken was the ultimate comfort food for him. It's no secret that William Howard Taft was known for his full-bodied physique, and his food preferences certainly matched. Taft had a serious love for 12-ounce steaks. He would eat one every day. That's a lot of meat, but Taft didn't seem to mind. His love for steak was part of his larger love for high-protein meals, and it contributed to his legendary appetite. Woodrow Wilson, like many other presidents from Virginia, had a special place in his heart and stomach for Virginia ham. Wilson particularly liked his fried and cut into strips, making it easy to snack on during his busy days. The smoky, salty flavor of this Southern classic gave Wilson the energy he needed to tackle his presidential duties. Whether served for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, Virginia ham was Wilson's ultimate comfort food. Franklin D. Roosevelt may have been a wartime leader, but when it came to food, he kept things pretty simple. His favorite? A classic grilled cheese sandwich, crispy on the outside and melty on the inside. A grilled cheese sandwich is the perfect, quick, and satisfying snack. No fancy ingredients required. Roosevelt's love for this iconic American sandwich just goes to show that even the president sometimes craves the kind of comfort food we all enjoy. Harry S. Truman wasn't interested in the lavish, 5-star meals the White House could offer. Instead, this Missouri native craved something much simpler: cornbread with sorghum. Sorghum is a sweet syrup often used in the South. He paired it with warm, crumbly cornbread. This humble dish brought him a taste of home, even while he was dealing with the pressures of running the country. Simple, sweet, and oh so satisfying. Dwight D. Eisenhower had a particular love for beef stew, a delicious, slow-cooked dish full of tender meat and vegetables. Eisenhower wasn't just a fan of eating it, he also enjoyed cooking it. You could say he was a pretty hands-on chef in his own right. John F. Kennedy's favorite meal was deeply rooted in his New England upbringing. He couldn't get enough of New England fish chowder, a creamy, savory soup filled with tender chunks of fish and potatoes. It's a dish that reminds you of cold coastal nights, and for Kennedy, it was a nostalgic taste of home. As a true Texan, it's no surprise that Lyndon B. Johnson's favorite food was barbecue, specifically beef or pork grilled to perfection. Johnson even went as far as inviting the barbecue king of Texas to the White House to ensure the finest barbecue experience. With smoky, flavorful meat slathered in spicy sauce, Johnson's barbecues were legendary, proving that Texas-style grilling really is a cut above the rest. Richard Nixon had a surprising go-to snack: cottage cheese. While it might not be the most exciting food on the list, Nixon was dedicated to his daily helping of this light, creamy treat. Rumor has it, he even topped it with ketchup sometimes. An odd combination, but hey, to each their own. Nixon's preference for cottage cheese shows that even presidents sometimes keep things light and simple. Gerald Ford's favorite meal was a hearty pot roast served with red cabbage. This classic comfort food was one of Ford's top dishes, and it makes sense. Pot roast is the perfect meal for someone who values a slow-cooked, tender dish that warms you from the inside out. The sweet and spicy red cabbage adds an extra burst of flavor, making Ford's choice both classic and delicious. Jimmy Carter may have been known for his peanut farming, but his real food love was cheesy grits. Grits are creamy, warm, and perfect for breakfast, especially when loaded with cheese. Carter, a Georgia native, was no stranger to the comforting dish, often making it for his family himself. Ronald Reagan's love for jelly beans is practically worthy of history on its own. He used them as a way to quit smoking, but even after kicking the habit, jelly beans remained his favorite snack. Reagan even had bowls of them placed around the White House, and famously celebrated his inauguration with loads of jelly beans. His favorite flavor? Licorice. Who knew that a little bit of candy could become a president's favorite? George H.W. Bush wasn't one to shy away from a salty snack, and his favorite was pork rinds, especially when paired with Tabasco sauce. This crunchy treat might seem unusual for a president, but Bush had a genuine love for it, often buying pork rind snacks during trips and stocking them in the White House. Pork rinds and hot sauce. Sounds like a strong combination, right? Bill Clinton's favorite food was a little spicier. The 42nd president loved chicken enchiladas, a dish packed with flavor and lean protein. Clinton was known for his love of bold tastes, so his choice was no surprise to anyone who doesn't love a good enchilada. We wonder if he shared that with Monica Lewinsky too. George W. Bush had a more modern favorite: cheeseburger pizza. Yeah, you heard me right, combining two American classics into one delicious dish. Bush liked to keep things casual and fun, but instead of ordering from a fast food joint, he preferred the White House chefs to whip up a version so he could know exactly where the ingredients came from. Barack Obama's favorite dish is something close to home: chili. He's been known to whip up his secret recipe, a tradition that goes all the way back to his college days. A bowl of spicy chili is the kind of meal that hits the spot no matter the season, and for Obama, it's a reminder of his roots. We all know about Donald Trump's love of fast food, and his top pick? The McDonald's Filet-O-Fish sandwich. While the White House might have had access to the finest chefs, Trump often preferred to keep things simple and nostalgic with this fast food favorite: a crispy fish patty, a soft bun, and a slice of cheese. And finally, we come to Joe Biden, whose love of ice cream is no secret. Whether it's a scoop of Ginny's Splendid ice cream or a bowl of classic vanilla chocolate chip, Biden is all about the frozen treat. Ice cream has been his go-to indulgence for years, and the White House reportedly keeps an extensive stock on hand. I guess some cravings never go away. So, you can see that presidents are just like us. If you were the president, what would be your must-have food in the Oval Office? We'd love to read your comments. If you find this content valuable, remember to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one.